Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review for this morning's press conference reaction show. Excuse me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously, Eddie's been talking again ahead of the Arsenal game. I think it's just one of those press conferences again, guys. Nothing really exciting. However, there may be news on Joe Willock and obviously Isak, which may give us a little bit more of a confidence boost, shall we say, going into the game at the Emirates tomorrow. But as usual, guys, before we start, if you do enjoy today's show, do give it the thumbs up. And of course, if you are new to the channel and like what you see, click that bottom right-hand corner, click the logo, click subscribe, come and be part of this community here on the Toon Review. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or upload any future videos. Of course, you can become a member of the Toon Review if you do so wish by hitting that join button underneath myself. And of course, you can still donate to the channel if you do so wish. That is the $ underneath the live comments. And that will, of course, guarantee to get your comment read out on the show as well. So let's get into it. Let's see what Eddie had to say this morning. And again, I wouldn't get too excited, to be honest. It's just another one of those frustrating press conferences as far as I can see. I'm taking the best points from it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But basically, Eddie Howe spoke ahead of the game, and he first said, we've had some good games against Arsenal. We will need to replicate close to our best performance to get something from the game. Last season was a battling performance from us at the Emirates. Arsenal this season have been very good in every aspect of the game, and it will be a challenge for us. No shit, Sherlock. For me, this is a massive challenge for Newcastle United. I said last night on the preview show that I don't think we can go there and park the bus for 90 minutes. I think it's impossible for us to do so because at certain points of the game, we switch off. We can't, for some reason, it is very, very difficult for us to stay fully switched on for a whole 90, 95 minutes, whatever it may be. Trolls, thank you very much for your super chat. There's no comment there, but thank you very much for your kindness, matey, this morning. So yeah, he's stating the obvious that it's going to be a very difficult game for us, and rightly so. But it's up to us to go there and give Arsenal a sort of challenge. Don't roll over and take it up the backside from them again. You know, because Arsenal, listen, we've seen plenty of Arsenal fans on social media that still haven't forgotten what happened at St. James's Park. You know, believe it or not, they're still going on about that. I even saw a ridiculous tweet yesterday from an Arsenal fan saying, oh, we should, on the 60th minute, turn our backs and boycott the game. I mean, absolutely horrendous garbage coming from the Arsenal fans, which is, you know, just unbelievable. But, you know, from Eddie Howe, you know, saying that we've got to keep replicate close to our best performance. Now, I'd like to ask you guys in the chat, when do you think, you know, when can you remember that we've had a really good 90-minute performance? I'm talking a 90-minute full game performance here, not a first half or a second half. When do you guys in the chat remember a full 90 minutes where we were at it and we, you know, completely dominated the game? Because I think it's a while ago, and it's quite some time ago, and it worries me the way we're playing at the moment. You know, I have to say, you know, we've got lucky the last few games. In the fact that we've come away with some of the points that we probably shouldn't have. You know, you look at Luton at home, we shouldn't have, you know, for me, we didn't deserve anything from that game. The last one there against Bournemouth, I don't think we deserved anything from that. It seems to be that we react straight away to going behind, and then we get level, and then we can't win the game from there. Jake says Man United at home was the last time he can remember a performance like that, where we were 90 minutes. Jake says it sounds like he really doesn't fancy Hall at all, does he? Well, we'll come on to that because he did get questioned this morning about Lewis Hall, which was interesting. Hamid says, thanks for the memories, Eddie, but it's time to go. Man United in the Cup, says Max. Yeah, the Cup game was a really, really good performance. Carlisle Tuna says, Paul, we are conceding loads and midfield looks weak. Do you think we should play 3 at the back with Tino and Tripp's wing backs? I would drop Longstaff and with Bruno and Miley in the middle. Well, if you watched the show last night, Carlisle Tuna, you will have seen that we all agreed on a 4-5-1 formation. So go back and watch that show after this one, and you will see that when we predict our teams, all three of us have predicted the same team, want the same team. I think predicting the team is a little bit, a stretch to say the least, but we all want the same players on the pitch to think that we can maybe do a job. But I'm worried. Azza says, if we beat them tomorrow fair and square, I would love nothing to shut them up and derail their title challenge. Mandy says, hi, everyone. Hope tomorrow we get something out of the game, but we are not playing great at the moment. Yeah, and that's what I mean about Eddie's comments saying, we have to get somewhere near our best. But that hasn't happened for a long time, and there's various reasons, of course, for that. There's injuries, there's all sorts of stuff going on, which is why we haven't hit the highs of where we normally expect to be. But when you hear the manager say that, then go out and do it. Then don't just say that. The players have looked very confident in training again, so let's go out and see that on the football pitch. Trull says, if we get Billing and Solanke, we are going backwards. We will have to money to spend, so better players. Hamid says, Paul, question for you. How long do you think Howe has to win a trophy before PIF consider replacing him? Look, I'm not of this Eddie Howe out brigade. I know, Hamid, you're not a big fan of Eddie Howe right now, hence your last comment there I read out. I really genuinely think that Eddie can take us places, but I also have to admit that there's a little bit of worry creeping in. And I think that's the same for every Newcastle United fan. When Eddie's made a few mistakes and we thought, right, well, he'll obviously put them right next game, he hasn't. And that's the worry for me, because he hasn't gone on and, sorted that problem out, which has been a worry for me looking on as a fan. But then again, should he be learning now with the amount of time he's been manager? So I think there'll be a big sort of, depending how the second half of the season goes, let's be honest, we could finish 6th in the table and win the FA Cup. Now, would that be a bad season? Given what's happened during the season, hell no, it won't. It'll be a hell of a season. So I think we need to wait till the end of the season, take stock of it all, have a conversation then about where we go, where we go from there. JT Toon says, more Big Six entitlement in the adverts on Sky again, calling it a grudge match and using the correct VAR decision as a focal point for Arsenal's revenge in this fixture. Yeah, exactly. There you go again. It's Sky trying to create something that really, it isn't there for us. It's there for the Arsenal fans, because they're so bitter and twisted at times, the Arsenal fans, that they've lost the plot a little bit when it comes to, revenge and all of that kind of stuff. I think the whole thing is to do with FFP and delaying having to buy him. Lewis, good morning. Morning, Paul and chat. Do you think going behind early on would give our lads the kick up the backside they need? Well, to be honest, Lewis, that was the one thing that worried me, and I mentioned that on the show last night. If we go into the game wanting to put our backs against the wall and just let Arsenal come on to us, park the bus, try and catch them on the odd break, if we concede early, then we have to come out. And, if our whole game plan is to defend, then that's out the window within the first 10 minutes. And it'd be interesting to see what we would do as a team, but how Eddie Howe would respond to that as well. So we'll have to see. Anyway, he then went on. He was asked about Eddie. Eddie was asked about Isak and Willock. Now, this is the bit of positive news I think we need to take from this. He says they've trained this week. It has been good to see them back on the grass. It has been a long time for Joe. He is a huge player for us. We are pleased for him to be back amongst the group. He is a very popular member of the squad. Alex is an important player for us too. We have one more training session today, but we won't take any risks. But we are pleased about their progress. So take from that what you may. I think we will probably see them both tomorrow in the match day squad. Now, obviously, we spoke about, does he start Isak straight away? Does he put him up front straight away? I'm not too sure he does. I think it's a hell of a risk given that Callum Wilson's going to be out for so long. We need probably to build Isak back up again. He's been out a few weeks. Joe Willock, obviously, we know has been out a long, long time. But what a boost to everybody, a boost to the squad and a boost to the fans to have Joe Willock back around the team, even if it's on the bench tomorrow. I think he'll start against Blackburn in the Cup, but to have him back on the bench tomorrow is a massive boost for anyone associated with Newcastle, because, my God, we have missed Joe Willock badly, really badly. And he can be frustrating at times, Joe Willock, but the situation is that we need him, and we need him back flying. He's a goal scorer. He's an attacking midfielder. He's someone who can give us an extra level to our game. So we really have missed Joe Willock, and more than I think people first thought when he originally got injured. Spike says, I've said it before and I'll say it again, to play Burn is putting a sloth up against the Flash. As it says, we are long overdue a strong performance away from home against a top 6 club in the league. Indeed. JC says, whenever we expect to do well this season, we mess it up. When we expect to hide and we show up. Hope it keeps going for the next away game. Yeah, well, that's typical, typical of being a Newcastle United fan, that. When 1 minute we're expecting them to be brushed aside, and it never works out like that. And then games that we see as potential victories and potential easier games, although there's not an easy game in the Premier League, we go and slip up. So I think tomorrow's going to be very important. Tomorrow's going to be very important to see how the first 10, 15 minutes go. If we are totally backs against the wall in the 10, 15 minutes to start the game, I have a feeling it could be a very, very long night for us. But you know what? You're right. With Newcastle United, you just never know. You just never know. Cider Eater says, I would definitely take FA Cup win in the 6th in the league for sure. Jazz, I like Howe, but his inability to learn from his mistakes is frustrating. His stubbornness is going to be his downfall. A lot of Bournemouth fans have said that as well. Nathan says, it's interesting as we really need a result tomorrow to continue our charge for European football next season. Matt says, my heart is saying 2-0 Newcastle, but head saying, shut up, your heart's drunk, 2-0 Arsenal. Jake, the thing is, how we'll play Burn and Miggy, but we have to remember he sees them in training all week, although I personally think Longstaff is the worst player in our starting 11. Look, again, I mean, I know Eddie Howe sees them on the training pitch, but for me, it's all right them playing well on the training pitch, but when it comes to match days and they don't perform and they continue to be selected, that's where I have a serious problem here. And I think a lot of Newcastle fans do. When they see, Dan Burn lacking in confidence, lacking in form, but he still gets a game. Miggy, just all over the shop, but still gets a game. What does it say? And especially to those players that are on the the fringes of the squad and or on the bench, looking at it thinking, well, I can do better than that. And then give them the chance to prove that they can be better than that. Give these opportunities to some other players. Because at the moment, these players are going on the pitch, playing crap, coming off thinking, well, I'm all right. There's nobody there to take me place. So, I'm comfortable right now. But with the Dan Burn situation, there is someone there to take his place, and he's not doing it. Very strange. Very strange. Ian says, on recent form, it's likely Arsenal will win, but this is football and we are Newcastle United. Exactly my point. Geordie lad, good morning. He says, Willock brings a lot of energy to the game with his work rate. Hopefully he is actually fully fit and not play one game and get injured again, because that's what happened last time. Yeah, will lessons have been learned is the question. True, actually, where we expect to lose at Villa and we smashed it. Yep. But I think... excuse me, Arsenal are a different kettle of fish. Arsenal's Premier League form right now is pretty much sensational. They are on fire. And we really do have to work very, very hard tomorrow to get anything out of the game. Now, on closing the gap to the top 6, he says, we are desperate to try and close the gap on the teams above us. So we've got a lot to be motivated for. Hopefully the confidence is returning. We have a big challenge against Arsenal. We want to win. We will do everything in our power to win. Now, without sounding too harsh here, guys, for me, that comment is rinse and repeat from a lot of the other press conferences. Just rinse and repeat. And that's where, I think these press conferences get a little bit frustrating. When you come out with something different a little bit, change the attitude of it all. Yes, we want to win. Of course we want to win. I mean, that's just normal. And we know Eddie Howe wants to win every game. We've seen that. But that indicates to me, and I don't know whether you agree with it, but, that comment there would indicate a 4-3-3, that we're not going to really take any new risks. We're going to go out there and play our normal game because we want to win. We'll be motivated. When he says, hopefully the confidence is returning, I don't know quite what he means by that. I'm a little bit surprised by that comment. confidence returning. In what way is the confidence returning, Eddie? Because if we look at the last few performances, would you say that is confident? No, I don't see confident displays on the pitch. However, obviously in training, it might be a different kettle of fish. We might see, a lot of confidence going on in training, which would be good. But we have to revert that to the 90 minutes on the pitch, and we haven't really seen that. Because I would say that confidence would be returning with some very, very good wins, like the win at Villa, for instance. Confidence should be massively high coming off that win at Villa. And then we go into the game against Luton at St. James's Park and completely get derailed. So, it's so difficult to see what he means by confidence returning. Sometimes I think, is he just saying that for saying its sake? Arani Granny, I know you're saying that motivational speaker, but come on, I'm just being honest here. I think anybody that would look at this and think, what does he mean by confidence returning? It's kind of talking nonsense in a way, because how would your confidence return when you can't beat Bournemouth or you can't beat, Luton Town, things like that? Where's the confidence coming from? I'm a bit, I don't know. Trull says Miggy can't pass at all and is so selfish, it's unreal. He needs to be benched. Asif says in 2024, we have only lost to City and Liverpool. Yes, we've had a few draws. Defence has suffered a lot through how thin our midfield is. Well, Asif, I'd agree with that to a degree. However, we haven't beaten the likes of Luton. We got stuffed at home to Forest. We can't beat Bournemouth. I mean, they're the games that, as I said earlier on, we should be looking to win these games. And for some reason, again, where is the confidence coming from? Foxy says, in other news, Everton Chinese player Li Tai sentenced to life in prison for accepting and offering bribes in football. I read a bit about that. Ari Willock's pass in the Spurs game. Imagine if that had been De Bruyne or Maddison, media would have still been wetting themselves about. Oh, they'd still been shown on TV now, mate. Without a shadow of a doubt, it would. But this is the sort of bias against Newcastle United, and we've seen it for years and years, and it's continuing now, and it will probably continue when the next England squad is announced, and that Manu from Man United gets ahead of Anthony Gordon, which would just be mental. In my opinion, Eddie Southgate will start as favourites. He just hasn't learned from his mistakes, which has been hurting the squad and results. There's a lot of people out there just expecting the same 11, isn't there? And to a certain degree, I think we all are. We all expect Eddie to go 4-3-3 again. But it would be really nice to see a change. Really nice to see a change. Because I think if we play 4-3-3, we'll get absolutely, we'll get pillared, to be honest. Absolutely pillared. Right, he was then asked about Kieran Trippier, and of course, top in the assist chart in the Premier League again this season. He said it's a brilliant stat for a fullback. He is a guy who will play a lot of creative passes before a goal happens. He has been fundamental to how we work. His leadership skills behind the scenes have been second to none. So we expect that, definitely. And look, Kieran Trippier has been through a rocky time over Christmas. I think he's recovered from that, and he's looking certainly back to his best. I really do think that. I think Kieran Trippier has been excellent. It's not that side of the defence that worries me at all, to be honest. With Trippier and Fabian Schär, that side of the back four has not been worrying at all. Been very competent, been very good. So I don't worry about Kieran Trippier at all. I like Kieran Trippier going forward. His set pieces, corners, etc., have been better of late. Not all of them have been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they've certainly been better. And I think that's a plus point for Kieran. And we definitely need him at his best tomorrow. I don't see any reason why he won't be at his best, because he performs very well against the very best players in the world. But what I do worry about is what's in front of him, obviously, if we do that 4-3-3 again. We are weak in midfield with that 4-3-3, and with Miggy on the right, it just, many people say, oh, well, he combines well with Miggy. Yeah, but Miggy, there's nothing comes from Miggy. And he may well, offer us a little bit defensively, but that's not what Miggy's there for. I'm sorry. It's just not. He is there to create, and he doesn't do that. So I'm not worried about Trippier at all. And the fact that he's, leading the assists in the Premier League again just says what quality he really, really does have. The guy is a brilliant fullback. Yeah, he's 33 now. I think he's had his rocky spell. That's out the way. I think he's looking forward. He's looking a lot more positive now. And like Eddie says, really, Kieran Trippier is the kind of guy behind the scenes that, we don't see every day, but we know about what he offers behind the scenes. We've seen it on documentaries and things like that. And when Newcastle have released new signings, that Kieran Trippier has always been the first there. Whether at the time he's captain on the pitch or not, he's always there first to welcome the new players through the door. And I think that's something that shouldn't be underestimated at all. The influence that Kieran Trippier does have, not just on the pitch, but certainly off it. And he'll be a big part of our game tomorrow. Troll says, to be honest, it feels like Howe is blowing smoke up our asses, not saying he does it, but it feels like it. Well, you're probably not the only one that feels like that, to be honest, Trolls. Howe can't come out and say he doesn't and didn't want Hall for obvious reasons, but I think he answered the question well. We need to focus on the correct transfers. Trippier has always been a true professional for me, and he was a vital sign, and glad he stayed in January. I hope Trippier has a role in the background. New director of football. That's not going to happen. Let's be fair. But listen, behind the scenes, when Kieran Trippier does eventually stop playing, we know how much he loves Newcastle United. So, listen, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Now, Eddie went on to talk about the ease in the schedule. So basically, it's obviously eased off since all the Champions League and things like that ended, and we don't have so many games in a week. Eddie said it is something that's been really good to be able to train. We have seen the benefits in some of the performances recently. The players have been better for it. The vibe in the squad has been better. Now, I'm sorry. What are you talking about, Edward Howe? What are you talking about? We have seen the benefits in some of the performances recently. Now, if anything, since the Champions League ended and we've had more training, the performances have been woeful. I mean, which performances is Eddie Howe talking about here that have been good? Because I'm struggling. I don't know. I'm baffled by that comment. I'm really, really baffled by that comment. He's basically saying we've seen the benefits of being able to train in the recent performances. Now, yes, what I will say is the recent performances, we've kept going and we haven't given up. Despite being 2 goals down against Luton, despite falling behind in recent games, we've come back. We've come back and we haven't lost the game. But come on. I mean, it's a crazy statement to say. It really is. Is that basically saying and looking at the fans? It's like just like somebody said in the chat before. Is he just saying it to appease the fans? But that comment there is a very, very strange one for me. Because what I would have said is, yes, it's been much better being able to train and work on things. We haven't quite got there yet on the when it comes to match day. The performances aren't where we want them to be just yet, but the extra training will benefit us in the coming games. Surely say something like that. Don't say that and say we've seen the benefits in some of our performances recently, because it's absolutely ludicrous. The players have been better for it. I mean, I think they'll be fitter for it, not having to play as many games, but better. Have you guys seen a better performance from Newcastle United? Because I'm struggling with that comment. I really am. I really, really, really struggling with it. Paul says, Howe's treatment of Hall is disgusting. Another flaw in his makeup. Honestly, he is not the future of NUFC. Some shockingly bad questions from the journal, says Niall. Have you and Dan left on good terms? He's hardly going to say no and give them clickbait. Well, I mean, listen, from what he answered in that, it's pretty much clear that there's not much between them two. In fact, I mean, could you honestly say that he's bothered? Would you honestly say that from what was said that he's bothered? Absolutely not. No way. And Billy might be right. I mean, Billy may be right in what he said. Just thinking that there's something not quite right with the relationship between Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth. Have they clashed over recent purchases, or transfer efforts, I don't know. We can't say for definite. But when he talks about Dan Ashworth, he spoke about him the other day, and he wasn't exactly bothered. So he's saying that it's away from the footballing side. He just sticks to his training, sticks to what he knows best, coaching the team and moving forward. He's not bothered. He really isn't bothered. Wacky Angler says, I spat my tea out when Howe said he likes giving young players the opportunity to play. What a pile of BS. Look, there's arguments for and against it, because we've seen Miley, flourish this season. Joe White came on the other day, probably mainly just because of injuries. But you're right. Livramento, came in, was man of the match for a few games, and then was sat back down on his arse again as soon as Dan Burn was fit. Lewis Hall, where is he? So yes, there's definitely a bit of both. Jazz says our away performance has improved, but our home ones have been woeful. It's probably a good thing we always get away draws in the cups at the moment. Yeah. Daniel says putting the performance on the training ground and not on match day. Well, that seems to be it, doesn't it? He's looking, and he's looking at them in training, saying, "Yeah, we've improved." But it comes to match day, and you think, where the work for a week in training, where does that work in development on the match day football pitch? Because I'm not seeing it. I think we've been extremely lucky the last few games. Crazy. Trull says, and some say we can't get rid of Dummett because he's homegrown. What about Alex Murphy? Played well when he was called upon, and he is homegrown soon, if I get it right. Alex Murphy, I believe, was signed from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see on that one. Niall says, a few said that Ashworth and his nephew fell out. Wacky says, not going to know what they can do if you don't give them the opportunity to play and gain experience, in my opinion. Jan said, Eddie said, whatever you want, whatever you like, whatever you say, you pay your money, you take your choice. Good old lyrics from the great Status Quo there from Jan. Lars says, completely agree on that. How does not let young players on unless there are no alternatives? Too many questions on Ashworth again. Didn't look too comfortable when questioned on Lewis Hall. Again, you look at the Lewis Hall situation, you think, right, who made that deal? Was Eddie particularly happy about that deal? I'm not so sure he was. And I think that may have well caused a few issues, along the line. However, there's something else going on. I mean, Eddie keeps saying, oh, he's close. Close to what? What do you mean, Eddie? What do you mean by he's close? Because I don't know. I'm sitting here as a fan saying, I don't know what you mean by saying he's close, because he's been here all bloody season. We're now moving nearly into March, and this guy is still close. He said close when he first signed. He said it in the winter. He said it over Christmas. He said it again now. What does he mean by he is close? Because I'm not seeing anything. How is he supposed to get even closer if he's not getting any match day experience at all? When he played for Chelsea, he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. And we all said, I remember commentating on it last season, saying, this Lewis Hall kid he's a really, really talented player. Yet he comes to Newcastle, and if anything, he's took a massive step backwards. I don't understand it. Paul says it's funny when a player is missing for a while, in the minds of some, he becomes more and more important. I remember when Longstaff was out, people were saying we couldn't perform without him. Charles says, don't you become homegrown after a certain amount of time if you're a youth? I'm not sure. You're probably right, mate. Kevin says, Arsenal fans are like their manager Arteta, the bedwetter. Pathetic whinges. Macam Cabby, good afternoon to you, or still good morning. Carlisle Tuna says, when Eddie dropped target for Byrne last season, it was because of Byrne's performances. Surely he has to be consistent with this. Lewis Hall deserves a chance regardless who signed him. Well, I think Livramento is probably ahead of Lewis Hall right now. I think that's a no-brainer. But obviously, give him a few games. And the thing is, Lewis Hall, he isn't going to become confident getting bloody taken off at half-time every time he's on the pitch and he starts a game, because that's what he's been doing with him. It's just a situation that I'll never, ever know. Simple as that. I can't get my head around it. You know, and he does look very uncomfortable sometimes when he's asked about Lewis Hall. Now, whether he just wants to come out and say, you know, I'm fed up with the Lewis Hall questions. You know, he wasn't my signing. You know, but he's not going to do that. He's not going to throw Lewis Hall under the bus, is he? I'm sure if there was any conflict between him and Dan Ashworth about it, he would be happy to throw Dan under the bus. But he's not going to do that to a young kid. Paul says Howe's decisions are rubbish. No idea whatsoever. PIF have him in the crosshairs. Howe doesn't use our youth other than Miley because he has to. Ian says, if you look at the Premier League stats, Burnley is 10th for aerial battles won. That could be why Eddie plays him. Not saying he is right. Look, Eddie said a couple of times, hasn't he, about you know, the aerial prowess that Dan Burn has. And I don't particularly want to argue on that one because I think, you know, he does offer that. And there's times in the games that we've struggled in that Dan Burn has done very well. You know, certainly with crosses into our penalty area, he's been the first one to get his head on that many, many times. But Livramento can do that. You know, I know Dan Burn has extreme height advantage. But if you look at some of the headers that Dan Burn makes when he's in the left-back position, it's like they just bounce off his head and go straight to the opposition. And we're under attack straight away. It's not great control from Dan Burn. But fair enough, the ones that come into the penalty area, absolutely. But there's so much more to just heading the ball away in the penalty area because most of the opposition's attacks now are coming down our left-hand side and going against Dan Burn because they know if they put somebody with pace on that side, they can give us hell. You know, Forest did it, Luton did it, Bournemouth did it. You know, Arsenal will probably do it tomorrow with of course Saka. So, you know, he's got to change something, and maybe a Livramento or Lewis Hall might just freshen things up a little bit. Asif says, isn't the whole issues his loan to buy deal? It's all speculation. He's good, but he is 30 million branded about good. Look, I would have said yes last season when I seen him play, but I think he's obviously, you know, at the minute, I don't know where the hell we stand. We don't know the details of the loan deal. We don't know the obligations. I guess we'll find out in due course. DXK says an easy solution, Paul. 5 at the back, stick Burn at DCL, bottom and middle, Shah on the right, Trips right back, Tino left back. Well, listen, that's an option. That's definitely an option for tomorrow, as is the 4-5-1 formation that we all went for on the show last night. So I hope he does either one of them. I really do, because I think we need more. We need to certainly sharpen it up at the back. But if he goes with 4-3-3 again, I'll be extremely, extremely disappointed. Paul, how come you have a pic of Joe Royal? It's not Joe Royal, mate. That is Dave Harrison, who used to be a member of this channel. Me and Dave took the channel forward, and Dave passed away a couple of years ago. So that is not Joe Royal, mate. Ian says, agree totally about the pace argument. I was just trying to understand why he plays him. Yeah, and I think that's why he does play him, Ian. I totally agree. However, I think there's more to it for me as a fan looking on. I think there's more to it than just playing him for defensive headers, because that's not working right now. Niall says we can't really say if Feet is worth it as he doesn't play. Yeah, but I think from what we saw at Chelsea last year, I would have definitely said 30 million. Definitely. An upcoming kid. You know, let's be honest, when he signed for us, we were saying, oh, you know, Livramento and Hall, the future fullbacks for England. That's what we were saying. We were so excited about the signing. But it ain't worked out like that at the minute. Without Hall, we have Target, Burn, Tino, Trippier, Kraft and Dummett who can cover left back. The £30 million is needed for other positions. Hall clearly wasn't Howe's decision. Well, look, I think Matt Target will be on his way. Certainly, you know, Paul Dummett, interested to see what happens with him. Tino, Trippier, Kraft, they're all more right-sided than left, to be honest. So that narrows it down a lot more. I wouldn't like to see Kraft at left back or Dummett now. I think Dummett's a centre back. You know, Tino can play there, yes, but he's mainly a right-sided player as well. So I think there is a spot there for. I really do. I really do think there is a spot there for Lewis Hall. I just don't understand why Eddie doesn't play him. And again, we're not getting answers, and I don't think we ever will, to be honest. JT Toon says Dan Burn is low on confidence at the moment and being hooked straight after we've conceded for two games in a row. Now surely won't do him any good. Eddie shouldn't have put him in that situation. Agreed. And again, it's more reactive management than being proactive, isn't it? And doing things before they happen. And of course, you know, Dan Burn's situation, he concedes and then he hooks him off. What does that say? I mean, I just don't know anymore, guys. I really don't. I mean, we can all sit here and discuss the situation till the cows come home. But if Eddie isn't willing to do them, then what can we do? What can we do? You know, tomorrow night when the team comes out, you know, kickoff's 8 o'clock, so the team will be out at 7. Will that team suggest to us that Eddie will go 5 at the back, or will he go 4-5-1, or will he just stick to the normal, what is becoming a very boring 4-3-3 now, without any insight into changing things around a little bit? I don't know. I agree. Performances have definitely gotten worse since we started having longer between games. Jazz says half the time it just bounces off his head and goes to the opposition anyways. Being able to head a ball shouldn't put him in the squad ahead of Tino, who can do a whole lot more. I agree 100% with that. Macam Cabby, good morning. Why don't you guys ever kick off at 4 p.m. on a Saturday? Well, we kicked off at 3 p.m. Last week against Bournemouth. I think these 8 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday evening for Newcastle fans to go to London is a disgrace. And shame on the Premier League and shame on the FA. Because once again, there's no trains for Newcastle fans to get home after the game. So again, they're having to pay money to stay down there unless they drive or get the bus provided by one of the bus companies for the away travel. But if you want to go down by train, you have to stay over in London to get a train back the following day. It's an absolute shit fart of a fuck up by the FA and the Premier League. And it just goes on. It's TV. It's TV revenue. The big wigs see that and they think, right, let's get as much money as we can and let's just stomp all over the fans as per usual. But, you know, it's sad. It's very, very, very sad. But hey, you know, but guys, do get your tickets in for the ladies' game on a Sunday. Of course, at St James's Park. They play Portsmouth in the Cup semi-final. It's I think they're looking to try and get 30,000 in for the game. Now, one thing I will say is, you know, since Newcastle were last at St James's Park, the women's team have been absolutely just smashing it. They've been absolutely incredible. There's some very, very talented footballers in that women's team. Charlotte Potts at centre-half, absolutely incredible player. Emma Kelly in midfield, brilliant. You know, you've got Katie Barker on the left-hand side, playing left-hand side forward. Tremendous skills on her. You know, you've got Gibson, who sits kind of in a sort of 6 role, doing really, really well. Anna Soulsby's a great player. You know, they've got some wonderful talent. Jasmine McQuaid in the middle. I mean, she's brilliant. You know, they've got some real talent in that ladies' team. So hopefully, you know, even if Newcastle do get a drubbing at Arsenal tomorrow, the ladies can put things right at St James's Park on Sunday. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, get yourselves online and get them. I'm going to wait till the last minute to see how my daughter is before I make a decision on it. But I'm sure that there'll be a massive crowd there supporting the women's team, and rightly so. They deserve it because they are heading in the right direction. Becky Langley has done an absolutely incredible job with these players, and of course they're full-time now. They train every day, and you can tell because some of the football that the player is, it's just absolutely outstanding. Yeah, there's Galloway as well. Yep, Niall, she's really a very good striker as well. So the players are just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Ruffiard Benissian says, Tino has more positives over Dan Burn. We might lose a little in the area, but gain pace, more overlaps and technical ability. He should be playing. 100%. Ian says, I hope you and your daughter can make it, Paul. Would be great father-daughter day out. Wacky says, shouldn't be any midday or evening kickoff. Should all be 3 p.m. on a Saturday and Sunday. I think those days are long gone, mate. Unfortunately, for the benefit of the fans, It would be nice if they had normal kickoff times. Look, I don't mind midweek games sometimes, that they have to kick off at 8 o'clock or, 8:15 or whatever they are. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But what I do think should happen is once the fixtures are generated by whatever supercomputer is kicking out these fixtures, then some, human element takes over, and they look at these fixtures and they say, right, that is ludicrous. Newcastle having to go to Arsenal. We can't make that a late kickoff. We have to think about the fans. Change another fixture to maybe if it's another London team or someone not far from London to take on Arsenal at the Emirates at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. But what you will find is, as Newcastle United grow and grow and grow, and we continue down this process that we're on, you will find that the TV companies will want to cover Newcastle like the Big Six a lot more. So on that flip side of it, I guess that's just what we've got to come. We've got to expect that the higher in the pyramid that we go, which I don't know. But there you go. That is it for the press conference reaction, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, if you have enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to press that subscribe button if you are new, if you're watching this on a rerun as well. And of course, hit that notification bell so you don't miss when we go live or upload any videos. We will be back at 7 o'clock tonight with Face the Lads, our Newcastle United fan forum. So the link to join us will be put in the chat just as the show starts. So make sure you hit that link to get yourself on first. Really, really looking forward to tonight because we haven't done a Face the Lads for a couple of weeks. There's a lot to discuss and a lot to get through. There'll probably be disagreements, etc., but there always is. It'll be a great show. But thank you, everybody, for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. 400 in for a press conference reaction live is absolutely brilliant. So thank you again for your support, and we will see you at 7 o'clock again tonight. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Friday, folks. Take care.
Come back and check on